Hello friends, and welcome back to another book reading video. We're continuing with this book about Mother Angelica. Prologue. On Christmas Eve morning 2001, the crumpled abbess lowered herself into the waiting wheelchair and tried to reassure her daughters. For weeks, the sisters had tensely monitored her every move, hoping their vigilance could somehow stave off the next illness or setback. From the nuns' shared looks of desperation to the reflective aid they offered whenever she stumbled or even hesitated, she could feel their worry. "Jesus is coming today," she announced with calm determination on that morning. Pointing to the hallway, she directed the sister pushing her out of the cell. "I'm going to the chapel to wait for him." She wouldn't have to wait long. Gliding past the closed doors of the great monastery hall, filled only with the sound of sisters rustling into their habits, the old nun looked as if she had just returned from the front lines of an extended war campaign. And perhaps she had. Public battles with a cardinal and her local bishop, a Vatican investigation, the death of a cloistered friend of 49 years, and constant health problems had taken their toll on Mother Mary Angelica by late 2001. Even the millions who invited her into their homes each week might not have recognized her. A sling held Angelica's shattered right arm, the result of a fall a few days earlier. A patch covered her sagging left eye, which refused to close, a memento of the stroke she suffered in September. And the mouth that made bishops tremble and carried salvation to the lost on 7 continents drooped pathetically, disrupting the once joyful face. Angelica was now a living icon of redemptive suffering, the embodiment of what she had long preached to her sisters. One of the junior professed nuns carefully maneuvered Mother's wheelchair over the polished green marble and jasper floor of the monastery chapel. The familiar smell of honeyed incense embraced Angelica as she entered. Angels peered down from the stained glass windows surrounding the chapel, offering their own salute as the sun broke in from the east. Washed in the shifting colors of their angelic light, the abbess rolled toward her spouse. She was too infirm to don the habit for him that morning, so in a cream-colored robe and matching ski cap, she dutifully came to pay him homage, bearing the marks he alone had allowed. Despite her condition, there was no bitterness as she approached the nearly 80-foot-high monstrance holding the consecrated host. There was her Lord and Savior, enthroned high above the center of the multi-million-dollar chapel she had built for him. Nothing was too much for her Lord. The scars of the present moment were merely new offerings to him. They had long communed in pain, she and her spouse. She recognized his touch and accepted it. She had learned that in pain, through pain, there were miracles, if she could but muster the faith to trust him completely and submit to his providential designs. Following Mass and the recitation of the Rosary, her sisters began to scatter out of the chapel. In solitude, Mother Angelica weakly craned her head upward, training her good eye on Christ in the Blessed Sacrament, as she had for 57 years of religious life. Then he drew near. As if suddenly filled with concrete, her head flopped to the side. Weary and disoriented, Angelica's eyes rolled to the ceiling. "Reverend Mother, are you all right?" Sister Faustina asked. "Reverend Mother?" Mother Angelica did not respond. Why does she have this dazed look on her face? Sister Faustina wondered. Is her blood sugar plummeting? Is the diabetes acting up? Why can't she focus? The sisters gathered around, calling her name, trying to get some response. To stabilize her blood sugar, a tall glass of orange juice was brought in, which she downed. But it did no good. The nuns rushed Angelica back to her cell to check her vital signs. Sister Margaret Mary, still wearing a nightgown, met them in the hallway. Margaret Mary was Mother's sometime nurse, responsible for dispensing medication and general health advice to the 79-year-old. When she first saw the disoriented abbess, the nun voiced her worst fear. She had a stroke. Margaret Mary said numbly. Back in her cell, Mother's blood pressure was normal, but an oxygen mask failed to revive her. Sister Mary Catherine, the vicar, and Mother's second in the monastery decided they should take Angelica to the nearby Coleman Regional Medical Center. The hour trip to Birmingham was deemed too far a journey. They loaded the abbess into an ambulance and sped to the hospital. Save for the constant yawning for air and the unfocused rolling of her eyes, she was unresponsive. At the hospital, Mother Angelica was ushered through a battery of tests while the sisters prayed. Ending the suspense, Mother's physician, Dr. L. James Hoover, sheepishly entered the waiting area. He wore a festive bright red sweater that seemed to mock the occasion, and his hands were thrust in his pockets. There was an air of resignation in his gait. "There is nothing we can do for her," Hoover apologetically drawled. "She's had a stroke, and she's bleeding from the brain." "Well, what's going to happen?" Sister Margaret Mary demanded. The doctor dodged the nun's eyes. "She's just going to drift off. 1 in 100 patients are candidates for surgery, but with her age and health," the nuns insistently grasped the terrible decision facing them: do nothing and watch their Reverend Mother slip away, or risk the drive to Birmingham for a perilous brain surgery which might kill her. While the weighty choice was made, the woman who had created the largest religious broadcasting empire in the world lay comatose in the emergency room. Having been rescued by so many miracles in the past, she teetered on the brink of that eternity she had long pointed others toward. Somewhere in the deep recesses of her traumatized mind, Mother Angelica, perhaps, unconsciously made a decision to fight. She would desperately cast herself into the hands of God, as she always had. For Angelica, there was no other way.